YouTube. It's the middle of summer. It is hot down here in Mississippi. The end of watermelon season is upon us, and every year we get a few watermelons from whoever's got them in town, and we make a couple gallons of watermelon wine. But we came across a deal that we just couldn't resist on these watermelons. We wound up getting 10 watermelons for under 20 bucks. So we're going to go ahead and make a big batch of watermelon wine, and we're going to show you how we do that. So basically what you need for this is you're going to need your watermelons. We usually get half a gallon to 3/4 of a gallon per melon, depending on the size. We're trying to get about 6 or 7 gallons of wine here. We're going to do 2 different kinds, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to chunk these watermelons, and we're going to put them in here, and we're going to juice them, strain it, and put them in our fermenter bucket. We're going to check the specific gravity and see how much sugar is actually in the watermelon juice itself, and we're going to add sugar to bring it up to our desired alcohol level. The recipe that I've used for years, it's awesome wine. It calls for sugar, but this year I really want to try to make it with honey too. So we're going to do a little experiment in a 1-gallon jug. We're going to do the exact same alcohol content, exact same yeast, exact same watermelon juice, and when they're finished we're going to compare between the tried and true sugar wine and some honey wine. So stay tuned, and we're going to get to juicing these watermelons. Alright, so to juice these melons is just going to kind of do a quick demonstration of how we do it. I quarter the melon, take my knife, kind of cut off that side, cut off that side, take my spoon. We don't want to really leave any of that red in there because that's the basis of our wine. That's where the flavor's at. We'll toss that to the chickens. Again, kind of hollow this out. Get as much as you can, but you don't have to go crazy on it. Okay. So this next piece here. Okay, and then what we got here is basically just chunked watermelon in this bucket, and we'll sit here and mash it and juice it, and we'll strain it into this other bucket. We just want the juice, really. We don't want all this pulp. Okay, then once you've crushed up your watermelon and gotten a good bit of juice out of it, we're going to take and strain the pulp into another bucket. Careful not to overfill the strainer. We're going to squeeze this down, kind of press the juice out of it a little bit. We're going to run it a second time, but now that we've gotten those 10 watermelons juiced, we wound up with a 6-gallon bucket of juice and a 1-gallon bucket of juice. We're going to make a 6-gallon bucket of wine with the sugar, and we're going to make a 1-gallon with the honey. I have it in this container so that we can take our measurements pretty easily here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a specific gravity reading of this watermelon juice. And I've already taken it, and it came out to about 1030, 1.030. What I want it to be is I want it to be probably around 18% alcohol by volume potential, which is probably 1130, 1.130. So we're going to add enough sugar in here to bring our specific gravity up to what we want. Basically, if we fermented this like this, it would be a very weak alcoholic drink, less than a beer, maybe 3 or 4 or 5%. Let's see, 1030 is about 4% alcohol by volume. So we definitely want to kick this up way higher than that, because we're going to use a champagne yeast, which has a tolerance of about 15% or so, I believe. So I'm going to try to get this up to about an 18% potential, so that when all the yeasts do their thing and burn off, that there's still going to be a little bit of sugar left in this wine. So we're going to take some sugar, and we're going to start adding sugar in here. I'm guessing it's probably going to take us between 15 and 20 pounds of sugar to get to this. And we're just going to go ahead and I'll dump in half a bag. Well, I'll go ahead and dump in a whole bag, because I'm sure that we're going to take at least that much. Okay, and I'm going to kind of stir it around a little bit. This is just pure watermelon juice, no water, with sugar added to bring the alcohol content up. It looks really thick and red right now. That's going to kind of dissipate. This will turn out to look a lot more like a white wine when it's finished. We're going to stir this up real good. We're going to make sure we're going to dissolve all the sugar into this solution, and we're going to take another reading. Okay, well, we had so much juice once we added this 30 pounds of sugar into here that we actually wound up with 2 more gallons of wine. These wines are at 12% potential alcohol by volume. This is sitting right about 18% potential, and the yeast that we're going to use for this one has got a 15% potential, so there's going to be about 3% sugars left over. It'll be a little sweet, which is what we want. These will be more like a regular red wine, around 12%. We can back sweeten them later to make them a little sweeter if we want to. So we've got here 8 gallons of watermelon wine made with the sugar. We're going to go ahead and basically add some yeast nutrients to this, and then we're going to add a Camden tablet per gallon to all these, and we're going to let it set for 24 hours so it kills all the natural yeast that would be inside those watermelons, so that tomorrow we can add the yeast of our choice and it'll be a more controlled fermentation. So right now I'm going to go ahead and mix up the honey batch. Okay, so I'm adding the 3rd pound of honey here to this mixture. I've been checking the gravity, and by my calculations this should bring us right about to 18%. It's going to be close. We're not going to be exact, but it'll be close enough for us to get a comparison of how it tastes with honey versus sugar. Okay, we'll stir this up real good and make sure all the honey is dissolved. A storm brewing up, so I think we should try to hurry with this. Still got honey on the spoon. Okay, looks all good. Cover this up. Take a reading here real quick. We were right between 17 and 18%, so it's going to be a real close comparison with the sugar. This will be this has got just a little bit less sugar in it. So I take this and get it into our jug. Still got a little headroom there. Should be alright. This watermelon wine has a tendency to bubble up real bad, so We're going to go ahead and add our half a teaspoon of yeast nutrients to this. And then we're ready to put Campden tablets and everything and let it sit till tomorrow. Alright, so we wound up with a little bit more wine than we really intended on having, which is never a problem really. We've got our 6 gallons made with sugar here, about an 18% alcohol by volume potential. We have the same alcohol by volume potential here, but this is with honey instead of sugar. Didn't quite make a gallon. That jug said it was a gallon. I don't know what's up with that. We also wound up with 2 gallons of watermelon wine made with sugar that are at a 12% potential alcohol by volume. Everybody's been given yeast nutrient. There's been a Campden tablet crushed and put into each one for each gallon here. So 1 in each of these and 6 in this one. We're going to let that sit for 24 hours and kill all the natural yeasts that are present in this fruit. And then tomorrow at this time we're going to come and pitch a yeast in each one of these. These 2 are going to get champagne yeast. These ones here are going to get white wine yeast mostly because that's what I have on hand to use. So tomorrow we're going to pitch the yeast. Stay tuned. Alright, so we've let all of our stuff sit here for 24 hours underneath some Campden tablets to kill all the natural yeast in it. And we're going to add our yeast straight into the must here. And we said that we were going to do white wine on these 2 that have sugar in them. And we're going to do champagne yeast on these other 2. And basically just pour the yeast in there on top of it. Each packet's enough to do 5 gallons. So I could have used 1 packet for both of those, I suppose. And then we're going to cover these with airlocks. We're going to put them in a cool, dry place. About 75 degrees or so, and they should be fermenting by tomorrow and done within the week or so. Okay, this is a pack of champagne yeast in here. This is our watermelon mellow mel. And then we have our 6-gallon batch here, which made with sugar. I'm just going to sprinkle the yeast on top, and they know what to do from there. We'll come back in here and we'll seal this. Now this watermelon wine has a tendency to fill up these airlocks and kind of overflow. It's just something that happens with the fruit. So you'll have to take off these airlocks and clean them off a couple times over the next few days. After that, it shouldn't do that anymore. Just at the very initial reaction. So be on the lookout for these filling up with red. You can see it's already starting to happen here. Just pull them off, clean them out, and keep this stuck in a cold, dry spot. A cool, dry spot, not cold. And we're going to check on these in about a week or so. So thanks for watching. Alright, the yeast has been pitched for about 24 hours, and as you can see, the airlocks are steadily working. This is what you want to see. This is active fermentation. This means that the process is working.